And welcome, everybody, to the Stepladder Final on BowlTV of the 2025 PBA50, the Villages Classic. We are down to our top five. I'm Dave Lamont, joined by our friend Tom Carter. Mike Flanagan will be around. And, of course, Brian Kane on controls. Jason Couch, who lives in nearby Clearmont. Got a few fans here.
You think?
Three lefties, Tom, making it, including this young man right here, Francisco Peralta, who we're getting our first look at, but he does have a ton of international experience.
Well, yeah, you know, I feel sorry for him because you got Jason Couch in the number 5 spot. Kind of gets there by default with the format, but he's in there, and he's already bowled Francisco one time.
Couch lost to him.
And Francisco shot 300 on the way to get to the show, but it's a brand new face that people are going to see tonight. And after that, we have a familiar face because he was on last week, the guy that just can't get the monkey off his back, and he's made so many shows, Brad Angelo.
He's made more shows than you and I combined.
That's true. That's true. And that match, Murder's Row, now you got to beat another Hall of Famer, Parker Bohn, which is the defending champion of this tournament. Then on to the guy that won this tournament in 23 and led the tournament start to finish pretty much, Tom Adcock.
Yeah, Tom started the day in the advancers round in second place, got to the top spot in the advancers round, and then ended up winning over his good friend Dan Knowlton, and then knocked Tom Doherty out for the second straight week, knocks Tom out of the tournament completely. And Jason Couch was able to get in as the number 2 seed, even though he lost to Peralta. And Peralta bowled 265 and 237 in beating him. But Jason is the number 2 seed, was the highest seed left, so he goes into this match, and who does he face? The guy who put him in trouble in the first place. So this is how we're going to start as soon as we are told that it's showtime. So Peralta is the higher seed. He will get lane choice.
I don't know who told me, but in qualifying, and the first time I seen Francesco bowl, somebody said if his look does not change, this guy could win the tournament because he is absolutely labeled the pocket all day, all week long.
But for the first, we're going to have a lot of resistance on the left side tonight. This is one of these oddities that happens every once in a while. We have the majority of our players on the left side, so we'll see how they affect each other and perhaps how, if at all, they affect Parker Bohn III, who's been just affecting pins.
Well, you know, the lefties supposedly like the short patterns, and this isn't really a short pattern. It's the Wayne Webb. It's 37 feet long. It's got, you know, almost 31 mils of oil on it. You can't say it's really a short pattern, but one thing I can say that it's a high scoring pattern after watching qualifying. I don't know how many 300s we had, but we had 12 altogether,
yeah.
And 3 of them were today.
And Tom Hess had 2 300s, and he didn't make it to the show. And Tom was knocked out by Brad Angelo. Talk about Murderer's Row. Tom had to get through Ricky Schisler, a match he almost gave away. And then he throws a 300 at John Janowitz in the third game to beat Janowitz. And then Brad Angelo takes advantage and jumps in and beats him. And Couch through the face.
You're going to see on the left side, you're going to see a lot of urethane going down the lane. It's a short pattern. They got to play to the outside, which is a benefit to them, and so did the right. But obviously having more righties than lefties, the shot broke down a little bit different. Guys used a lot of urethane in the beginning and then transitioned to reactive later because they had to go around the carry down that was developed by the urethane. You know, and this is a 3-squad tournament, A, B, and C, and then it rotates around. And every squad, how B and C bowled, is all predicated on how the first squad broke the lanes down.
All right, no trouble there for Couch. Yeah, we had the fresh burn, double burn aspect. This is the first day we have not had that. We've been getting a constant oiling today. Well, let's see. How many oils do we have today? Is this 4, right?
Yeah.
After the
1, 2, 3, and 4.
30, yeah, it's the 4th time. So obviously it may sound like it's fresh, but it's a different kind of fresh than it was, say, at 12:30 when we had our beginning of the round of 24.
And ideally, they just get tighter. But, you know, in this 3-squad tournament, you only bowl on the fresh once. Then you go, depending on how the rotation goes, you got fresh, then you might go to double burn, then you might just go to the burn. But it opens up the whole lane, and it just makes it so much difficult depending on if a bunch of people threw urethane on this pair, and then obviously you move pairs and nobody threw urethane on that pair, your shot's totally different. So the guys that made the show today are the sharpest in the bunch because they made the right adjustments and conquered the pattern to get to here.
We mentioned Jason's got a little bit of a home field advantage. This isn't his home house, but he has won in this building before. He was on the show last year, got beat by Parker. He has done very, very well. Talked to me during the little break we had here, just how comfortable he is in this building. And I don't think Francisco Peralta cares about any of it.
I don't think he cares if it's a Hall of Famer. It means nothing to him. You know, this is well, he bowled, I guess, 2 events last year. But you won't find him on the PBA website because he was a non-member, I believe.
Right. Yeah, and I started my research on him once he started to become a factor. And he ended up just like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, Team Mexico. Okay, so he has plenty of international experience. And when in doubles, he partners with Mario Quintero.
And he won a gold in doubles last year.
A potent combination right there between those two.
And he got a bronze in the all events. So, I mean, he's not a newbie to bowling by any means.
No.
He's just a newbie to us.
And he's not a newbie to striking either.
Yeah, so, I mean, this is...
He had a 300 today.
Yeah.
He got into it with Randy Jakes, and finally, in the final game, bowled a 300 to take it 2-1. Then he knocked out Bill Watson.
He shot 300 to Bill Watson.
Was it Watson he got the 300 on?
Yes, I got it right here.
Yeah.
He shot 300 to Watson.
And then threw 265, 237 at Jason.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you mentioned it. He's got some difficult people to beat, but...
And here's the kicker. Angelo's on the show, but he bowled Hess.
Yeah.
And Hess shot a 300 at Angelo, but Angelo...
that was a Janowitz. No, that was a JJ.
You sure?
Yep.
Okay.
At 227, then he had a rougher game. Definitely that was JJ, because, 100%.
I put it on the wrong one.
Yeah. He had switched. Yeah, he out JJ in that game as far as figuring out the pattern and figuring out the right ball and everything. That was definitely against John.
And Dan Nolan had 300.
That he did. That was early also. That was against Kirby Allen. But and Knowlton had it, and he's probably his best friend on the tour is Tom Adcock, and they ended up having to face each other. Oh, my.
And Jason's coming off of a knee injury. He had a transplant, I believe. He's got a new knee.
Yeah, he's been, and that cost him some time. I mean, it's really odd. He has, 16 regular tour titles? Only a couple out here, and including one last year. He won the first event of the year, as a matter of fact, in 2024. And he's, he announced to everybody a couple years ago, I'm healthy again. So, tough break for Couch. And, man, Francisco Peralta, don't put your wallet in your back pocket right now because he is hot.
Yeah, and he's fearless.
That's the thing. He, we talk about don't open the door. You'll get your food stolen out of your fridge or whatever. But man, Peralta is bold like that. If you give him a chance, he's grabbing it. And through the face that time, and he is a fortunate man to have something makeable.
That might be one of the shots, most errant shots I've seen him make today. He's been striking like it's nothing. It's pretty easy to get into a flow, though, once you got a pattern that is easy on your eyes and you like to play it.
Nice. No trouble at all. And pretty calm demeanor for Francisco.
Even when he shot the 300, it wasn't almost like a John Rukowski type demeanor.
Well, wait a minute. but close.
Nobody gets that calm, I guess.
No, nobody. I was talking about that earlier. I think that's one of the hardest things about bowling John is you can't get a read.
No.
Is he mad? Is he upset? Is he happy? Is he, I don't know. That's tough to bowl against a guy like that.
Oh.
And
whoa, I thought that was a little farther left out on the lane. He got that out to like 2-3.
What do you think? What does it look like he's throwing? Can you tell?
I believe he's throwing a black hammer.
A popular ball this week.
Yes, it is, a black pearl hammer. But most of the guys, when we were repping and going down, they were putting 240 for surface on the ball. Seems kind of like a oxymoron type thing. You got a pearl ball, but you're sanding it with 240 to make sure it hooks.
Oh, my. Yeah, Jason's just not getting any luck in addition to Peralta bowling well.
Bowling on the web, 37-foot pattern. It's a 4.9 to 1 with 30.6 mils. They used ice oil down and back. Last week we used fire and ice. This week we used ice down and back. I talked to the lane man just for a short period of time, asking him what his reasoning was. And he goes, I wanted the pattern to hold up because we had 3 squads, 18 games of qualifying. And the idea is to get the pattern to hold up. And realistically, and we have some guys out here that have some hand, obviously Tom Doherty and Amuletto and guys that can rev it up. But for the most part, nobody really got, other than those guys, got to 5th arrow. I mean, they never really got that deep. And you would think after 18 games on the lanes, guys might be standing in front of the ball return.
All right.
And I thought what was amazing, the cut numbers from last week to this week.
Yeah, this is an interesting thing you dug up. Yeah, tell us about that.
Last week, to make the cut for match play, you had to be plus 239. This week it was 243. Last week for a super senior check, you used plus 180. This week was plus 183. And then the super duper seniors, which are the guys that are 70, they get 2 checks. Last week that number was 108, and this week was 110. So the numbers on 2 totally different patterns
again
are almost identical, which is amazing.
And the other thing that was interesting, although we were on a different pattern here last year, cut line last year in this building was 110. Here it's 240s. Yes, different. It was Holman last year. I understand all of that, but nevertheless, that's dramatic. And again, the same principle of burn.
Fresh, burn, and double burn.
Thank you. Been saying those a lot, so after a while.
I know it's senior tour and I'm old, but used to it was just the fresh breakdown, then the burn. But now we've changed the terminology.
And last week we were fresh the whole time. So.
And that's something that, I've always wondered in a tournament like this, since we did have the 3 squads, once we get into the match play, they never go to the next round on a breakdown. It's just always fresh. So if you like the fresh, you're great. But if you like the burn, you don't get a chance to see that.
Yep, that's right. My goodness, Francisco Peralta just motoring on.
He's, I don't think he cares if you're a Hall of Famer.
No, and that's the right attitude to have. I mean, you can respect Jason Couch, you can respect Brad and Parker and Tom, but you can't be afraid of them. And he's seen some tough people in international competition from all around the world, great international bowlers. So this is just a different setting and, the one-on-one aspect of it. And now he's not representing a nation, he's representing himself and doing a pretty good job of it. And he's gotten away with a couple of errant shots that haven't split.
Yeah, he got that one started up a little bit sooner than the shots. He's been giving it away a little bit, but that was a little bit of a tug right there. Now, unfortunately, I wasn't able to be here last year. So to me, this is a brand new lane surface than the last time that I was here.
3 years ago, they changed it. Cubica AMF SPL.
The biggest thing about his game, I mean, he's keeping it in the pocket and he's staying clean. I mean, he's not getting himself in trouble by any means.
Nope.
"37 feet, you got 23 feet supposedly of dry lane. You got to be able to control the back end part of the lane. You get a ball in your hand that wants to jump off the pattern, or you have a release that makes the ball jump off the pattern, you could see some designs at the other end.
All right.
Jason, to get to this point, there was a couple of matches that he was down and had to fight his way back to the win.
Re-rack for Couch. Yeah, he was not going to get that. You could see by his reaction.
Messenger just missed that 7 to come across. It looked like it was dead flush.
I'm guessing in his mind, he thought he threw a strike.
Yeah, he was already pulling the trigger on that.
He was. Look at him. Well,
he's throwing at 16.7. And his shot on the other lane was 17.5. There are not a lot of seniors out here that throw the ball that hard. Adcock, our tournament leader, being one of them.
Yeah, Doherty, obviously, now that he's out here. But, yeah, you're right.
And Parker can. But and we had Burkett.
Yeah, John had a nice event. Parker knocked him out, but John ended up in the top 8.
Jason only can shoot 211. And you can tell by the way he walked back. He is frustrated because he's pounding it and he's just not getting the breaks.
No, and to be fair, Peralta's had a couple of errant shots that didn't split.
No, he's
the 2-8s. Everything else has been great. The 2-8s were right through the nose.
And he's shooting, if he keeps going, 256.
Yeah. And that 256 is still
that
very
ball
much
is
alive.
just getting there and holding. It's like you think it's going high. It's just set into the pocket. Back in the day, we called that hook set. If you could get a ball to hook and set to the hole.
I like that term.
It never went high. You'd think it was going high, but it would strike forever because for him, he's never going to leave a 6-pin
And I
or
think
4-pin.
he's also put in for a re-rack. Yep. You get 2 per game, so each has used 1. We're at Spanish Springs Lanes in the Villages in Central Florida. They're surrounded by Orlando to the south, Gainesville, Ocala. If you go west, it's Tampa.
I was going to say golf carts.
That too.
There's a bazillion.
Also, what I didn't know here is that there are 2 other parts of the Villages with squares in them like they have here.
Yes.
I've never had a chance to see those.
Oh, my.
Ramalama
That was
ding dong.
10 back gone.
My goodness.
I think the village is 20 square miles. It's crazy.
Oh, it's massive. This area has exploded population-wise in recent years. Very popular place. No doubt about it. Kind of sums it up, doesn't it?
Yeah, that is game, set, match. Jason cannot get his ball to go through the pins. It's just like it's going a hair long, and it's just corner pin after corner pin. That could have been surface. If he had more surface on the ball, it could have slowed it down a little sooner. But I think when you get into these matches, you get a little amped up, and it's just very easy to overthrow the ball. But as long as Jason couched bowling, this is not the last time we see Jason couch on the show.
No. Heavens no. No chance of that happening.
Best Jason can do is 200 if he strikes out.
Now, Jason was 6th overall in the points race last year with the title. He made the Hamtramck show. He was 2nd here last year, 2nd in Morgantown, 4th at the Ballard. So he'll be back.
Definitely.
Too talented not to be. You don't win 3, Tournament of Champions in a
row. Exactly.
Without
He's got a 3-peat.
Mad game. Mad game. That's a big what if you want to do what ifs in bowling. What if he had stayed healthy, not developed knee problems? How many more times? He could have picked up a few more than just 16.
By far. But that is probably one of the biggest things. And you got knee problems, and depending on your technique, you got back problems.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing, depending on the height of your backswing, is when you were young to now, you could have shoulder issues, how hard you throw the ball. So just like golf, there's always some kind of problem. It's a repetitive sport.
Yep.
And if you do it a lot, something's going to give.
Well, you know that as well as anybody.
Unfortunately, I do. That doesn't make you want to, even though you have those problems, you still have the desire to bowl. And you're going to keep bowling as long as you can because it's for the love of the game. They made that movie about the wrong sport.
You make that movie about any sport. All right, even 200 for Jason won't be enough.
And it's always in the 10th, things, you're so as if you could just crawl in somebody's head and you had a lot of sensors on them, what was different those last 3 shots that were just dead flush that carried compared to everything else that just happened in the 9 frames before where he couldn't strike? It's like, okay, I know I'm beat, and the hand's a little softer maybe at the bottom.
A little relaxed.
A little more relaxed.
You're frustrated, but at the same time, it's over. Might as well finish, get at least a tiny bit of taste in my mouth that's not bitter. In the meantime, my.
Tripping out 8 pins, rolling them. And when you got it going on, it's your day. I think every bowler that's ever thrown a ball, I don't care if it's league or not, you've been in a situation you can't strike and you know you're beat, and all of a sudden now you're in the 10th and everything just falls. And there has to be a reason for that, because it has to be the anxiety, the heartbeat, the rhythm.
Doesn't matter.
That almost rolled.
Got to wiggle out of it.
You got to wiggle out of it.
Yep. So next up, after the appropriate amount of practice, will be Brad Angelo. We'll get our first righty, and a man who has been on our BowlTV cameras on the PBA50 tour darn near as much as about anybody I can think of. Even the guys who have been winning the tournaments, the Janowitzes, the Hesses. But much like Mika, who had all his frustration in one long stretch, the Brads has been dragged out.
Yeah.
over years.
Over a couple years. I had a conversation with Brad earlier, and I said, well, maybe this is your day you can get the monkey off your back. He goes, I don't know what it is. He goes, it's not like I don't want to win. I'm trying to win, just something doesn't go my way.
All right, let's see what happens. Peralta, coming off of a 245-200 win over Jason Couch, now takes on Brad Angelo in a lefty-righty matchup. Peralta will start on the left lane. And he'll mix it and succeed.
Obviously, the commercial break didn't bother him at all.
No. He, I don't even know if he went off and threw any shots on a practice lane that's off to our left. That's available. So our first look at Brad Angelo. He qualified in the number 6 position, so he earned a first-round bye. Then he defeated John Rakowski and Tom Hess, so he did not have it easy to get here.
That was pretty pure right there.
And tournament director Tony Lanning found something on the lanes that fell out somewhere, so as soon as Brad was clear, he made sure nobody stepped on it.
Brad's kind of unique in his stance. He's literally standing on 6, 7, but he ends up sliding on like 17. He's got that little 10-board drift,
Ouch,
and
baby.
that did not pan out well. And it just seems like the bad breaks that Brad gets.
You know, so many times, or we've seen these situations over the years, and we're not saying this is the end of the match. Please don't draw to any conclusions. But last week, right, he was sailing along, and then something like this exactly happened late in the match that took him out. If you're going to have this happen,
you got a chance.
Yes, he does.
Oh.
If you're going to have it happen, dust it out of the way early so you can recover.
But you got to think. That kind of stuff has got to get in your mind. You know, you're like,
that's the question I have.
It has to be in your mind.
Yeah.
You're bowling a guy that seems to be locked in. You thought you were locked in, and for whatever reason, you throw it, you think it's pretty good, and it ends up being a split. And it kind of just, it's a gut punch, takes the wind out of your sails.
How can it not? And then this guy comes in as calm as the ocean on a nice day, and is just ripping racks. And he got a couple breaks so far. And and again, for those who just looked at the chat, and there's some discussion. They don't know much about Francisco, which is understandable. He, as Tom Carter mentioned, a couple of appearances last year as a non-member, didn't really have an impact. I don't even know if he's a member now. Actually, international bowler for Mexico. And right at this point, he looks to be in fantastic shape. But
he's got this cruise set right now. He's just going.
Yeah, but it can always change, as we all know.
The messenger didn't quite get there.
No, it quit a little early on him.
Whoa.
It can all change.
That in a matter of seconds.
A second to go. It can all change. So Brad Angelo may have gotten his get-out-of-jail-free card. But he's got to use it.
Well.
And it's something that I said, Tom, and maybe you can help me with this. I don't remember a tournament on this tour with so many missed single pins as this one has had.
It was real easy. I guess in qualifying, you guys watched it all week long.
For day after day after day after day.
And it doesn't make any difference if it was left side or right side.
No, it did not.
Because you thought there was enough friction that, your ball's going to hook across the lane to pick up the 4-7, and it might not get there. And guys throwing it straight down the left side like a lot of guys do. The ball never got there. Then you got your 10-pin. You're going, oh, my God, it's so slick outside. They were scared they're going to throw it in the gutter. Then they miss it to the left. A lot of single pins were missed this week.
And Angelo takes that for a double.
Unlike the left side, Brad has chosen to use a reactive ball, and he's playing closer to 10 instead of urethane to the outside. Watching Francisco from the back, he's got one little, and obviously it doesn't affect him, one little tweak on his approach that I'm sure that maybe some coaches have talked about.
Well, show us here. Let's see.
See how his head tilts to the left?
I wasn't looking at his head straight. I was looking at his feet. I didn't know if it would.
Yeah.
So
you watch Brad or you watch Tom Adcock, you watch Parker. Their head is always straight. Their shoulders might rotate, down because your shoulder drops to release the ball, but your head always stays straight. Normally, when you see somebody when their head tilts as much as his does right now to the left, and he sets up that way, his head tilts to the left, you tend to actually overpull the ball
like that. By the way, lessons from Tom Carter are available if you go to Columbus, Ohio.
I'm surprised that happened at the same time I said that. But that's normally you try to keep your head as straight as possible.
Got it.
That helps that leverage at the line.
Look out. Okay.
Whoa, I thought he got that little left.
That was not the time for hold. he got that, though, so that's good. But he is paying the penalty for that single pin miss because Brad, after drawing a split, was able to double.
So maybe, and we always talk about this every week, Francesco could be feeling the nerves a little bit since this is something new to him.
Nope.
That ball just labored on the back end. It looked like it wanted to make the turn, and it just said, "No, I don't think so."
Just tired.
I'm done. Brad is one intense bowler.
Yep. Not he'll show some emotion, but he generally keeps it bottled. But you can just see it.
Well, and maybe unfortunately, in the years past, because he's been on so many shows, maybe it so bottled up that gets to him when he's on the show. I don't know. I'm throwing ideas out there because as many times as he's been here, kind of like Mika last year, 8 shows in a row, you think that the odds are with you. You're going to win.
Ooh, a washout. Well, you got a break by with a tap of that 10 right there. So how does that happen?
Well, there has been some urethane going down the outside. Urethane carries the oil down the lane.
Well, he got a massive break by getting that 10 shoved out of there.
And when you carry oil to your break point, odds are your ball might overskid. So it might force him to have to move his feet right and play closer to the gutter.
There you go.
Well, there's 30.6 mils of oil, excuse me, on the lane. And if they're using urethane, and you think it happened more on the left side because that's all they're using, it's going to lengthen that pattern, which obviously if it lengthens it, if you're following transition, you might have to be moving, for Francesco, moving left to keep the angle to the pocket because you're taking away your break point.
Flush for Peralta. Down 15 pins. I know some people reacting in the chat to our comments about Brad's intensity. He's a great guy. We didn't say he wasn't.
No, he's not. He's a wonderful guy.
He is.
And he's actually a great singer too. I mean, if you
that
guys
I
in
did
the
not
chat,
know.
Yeah, the boy can sing.
But we're also trying to point out the competitive Brad Angelo is different than the guy you're going to run to at a Pro-Am or someplace else.
If we had a picture of the front of his face going to the line, he looks like he should be on The Sopranos.
You catch him at his bowling center in upstate New York, I'm sure you get some great treatment. Oh, no.
Ooh. Solid 8. Holy cow.
Yow.
Well, that was unexpected help for Brad. And since we're using ice oil is a slick oil. So you got urethane that doesn't soak into a ball. You know, the oil doesn't soak in. It kind of carries down the lane, and you're using oil that's slick. The lanes are going to tighten up.
That was a tough one. That was a tough one.
And anybody out there that bowls league, when they see somebody bring urethane out on the rack, they pretty much have a heart attack because they know that their shot's going to change drastically, and they hate anybody that brings urethane out on a rack on a house shot.
Yes. Top the 7 out.
One thing Brad does, and it's just absolutely wonderful to watch, his tempo to the line, his rhythm, his posture, his balance, his follow-through. He posts it and just watches the entire motion of the ball and the ball go through the pins. And that's how you make adjustments. I hate to say it, but a lot of bowlers just throw a ball and they see the ball hit the 1-3, but they don't see the transition of the ball where it actually starts to hook and actually how it leaves the pin deck and goes through the pins. And depending on how it goes through the pins, it depends on whether you want to change balls or you want to move your feet. A little help.
Nope. It quit on him on a 4-pin.
Mo Pinnell, before he passed away, said, now in today's game, your ball should leave the pin deck on the, well, as a right-hander on the 22nd board. Or it'd be the 22nd board as left-hander, looking the way they count. But the ball should be continuing through the pins.
No trouble with that 7-pin for Brad Angelo. 27 the max for Peralta.
.212 for Brad.
Wait, 32, 60,
30,
92,
60, 80.
222. So where did I go wrong? 222, right?
Brad can only go 30, 60, 80.
That's right.
212.
50, 52, 82, 12.
30, 60, 90, 110.
67, 97,
227.
227. That's wild. And he's, wow.
.227 from Francesco if he takes it off.
And
This is
he
his second, isn't it?
Second tonight, first in this game, and it's both times on 17. So another strike for Peralta is going to force Brad into a big finish.
Well, I think Brad's got to pretty much have a big finish anyway.
Yeah. Whoa.
Well, now that changes the whole ball game.
A little bit. A little bit. Got to make it.
57-77-07 now
Got to make it.
for Francesco. 207.
And he's missed a single already.
You don't think that's already in his head?
It shouldn't be, but how could it not be?
No sweat on this shot.
And now Brad can lock him out.
To me, this is where Brad shines, when he just gets in this, and I've seen it so many times, when it looks like he's down and he needs a clutch double or a clutch strike to win. That ball's got a face.
It did.
Well, there for a second, it was out there, and I thought it was laboring and it wasn't going to make that turn.
So Brad moves closer to nailing down this match.
Brad needs this strike, because if he goes 9 spare, all Francesco's got to do is mark also. But when you say all you got to do is mark, that's kind of a bad thing. All I got to do is mark.
So Francisco Peralta in that uncomfortable position of just waiting and realizing the match is not in his hands.
He's sitting in front of us, head down, hand over his face. He doesn't really want to see what's going to happen.
Yep. Big one for Angelo.
That ball was 10-9 at the arrows and about 6-7 down lane, and it looked like it did not want to make the turn. I'd be interested to see if he wants to make an adjustment off of this and move a little bit to the right. That ball just about didn't face. Brad with the inside foot, he is literally standing on 4. And slid on 12.
But it's perfect shot from Brad Angelo. Absolutely perfect. And a great way to finish this match up.
Again, this is where Brad shines. I believe there's going to be a ball change right here. We're going to try something different.
You see the next man up, Parker Bohn III, talking it out with Rep Jeff Johnson. Well, there you go.
That ball looks much better going through the pins. It faced up.
Brad Angelo and Parker Bohn III will be next.
212 for Brad Angelo. If Francesco strikes out, 207. That missed 10-pin in the third is going to haunt him for a while. A 10-pin, 7-pin rather, in the third.
And Brad chatting actually with Tom Adcock. And Mitch Beasley there off to Tom's left.
So are they
They
talking
could be
about the lane or
discussing
talking
fact
about the fan?
That fan weighs 90 pounds, and Brad is yet able to hold it with one hand. Tom Hess wants in on the fan. I'm amazed.
Is the fan not working? Is that what we're talking about?
I don't know. I am amazed at the size of the fans. I have to admit, I don't understand the size of the fan. I understand the purpose of the fan. I completely get it. But the fact that these guys carrying around fans that are bigger than steering wheels.
Okay, here's a fact about a big fan.
Okay.
If people use it. When the lanes or the approaches are tacky.
Right.
Okay. So let's say there's humidity and the approaches are tacky, or it's warm in there. Believe it or not, you get one of those big fans, and if you put your shoe on the fan and keep it cool,
right,
you slide better.
See, I've never seen anybody put their foot on a fan though.
But, maybe they don't know, but it's
Okay.
maybe an old school trick.
Well, there you go.
But if you keep your foot.
See, now that is next level intelligence. All right, Parker's got the higher seat. He's going to sit out the first shot. Let Brad throw it.
Brad switching balls to the Icon Pro. Yeah, I said Icon, Ion Pro.
No, but you know what? Now you got a new ball, the Icon Pro. There you go. Next ball naming meeting.
Well, there's only a few that come out every week.
All right, first shot of our penultimate match.
Brad
Whoa.
moved in, 12 at the arrows, 5 at the break point, and unfortunately, 10-pin.
The amazing thing to me is these banners get taken down and put back up. Tournament after tournament after tournament. It blows me away.
The hard part, and we have obviously different entries every tournament, and Don on the truck is the one that normally does that, having to dig through, he's got 2 huge cases of banners, having to dig through all the banners to find out who's going to be, here this week. Some of the guys aren't going next week.
All right, the defending champion, Parker Bohn III's first shot. It's not a good one.
7-10, and he switched from urethane and went to that dark side.
I see.
And 7-10, he's trying to go around whatever Francesco created.
Well, get it out of the way early, I guess.
That spare shot was pretty fast, 21.5.
Well.
Next week, Bill Moore's tournament.
Yep.
In his basement.
The championship finals.
Yeah, we're going to be at, Woodbridge, Virginia.
That's a little bit more like it.
That's more like a Parker Bohn shot. There's a guy that doesn't get rattled either. In qualifying, what was he over the first day? 20?
28.
28?
Yeah.
Then he ended up 600 over. I mean,
the next 2 days he was 340 something on the third day.
I talked to him the first day, and he's talking about the shot, and he goes, I just didn't see it. I just didn't make the right moves, and I don't think I had the right ball. Just didn't see it. He said, tomorrow's a new day. I'll make better shots.
There you go. Brad Angelo makes a fine shot right there.
Parker is a guy that never gets upset no matter where he's at. It's bowling. You have good days, you have bad days.
Tom Adcock on deck. Pretty shot all the way from Brad.
That was another 12-5 shot. Made it look simple. Find out from Mitch Beasley what kind of surface he's got on it. I'm pretty sure Parker, when he hit that ball, he hit it with just a light 3000, just something to freshen it up a little bit. But I'm not sure what Brad's got on his.
Mixer there, and again, we talked about Parker's tell. When the left arm comes up, it's usually a good sign for him. He kind of lets you know if something's good. So watch the left arm, and yeah, I got it. Some of these guys are terrible poker players.
Everybody's got their little quirks.
They got their little quirks. Again, toughest poker player in the building is Rikoski. No tell. Nothing.
You have no idea.
No idea. Parker's got a tell. Couch has a tell, kind of the same thing. There are other guys who, I sometimes won't even watch the shot, Tom. I'll look at the bowler and how they react. But there are others where obviously you want to see what the shot looks like. But I like to watch the bowler sometimes.
Well, we had Oh,
wow.
He thought that was going to be.
Yes, he did. He was on his way to
out.
Kissimmee. Yep, he was going to Orange County.
Back in Jeff Johnson's area, the ball rep, there's a gentleman by the name, unfortunately he's passed, Richie Buss. And Richie's demeanor was the same way. You wouldn't know if he had 100 opens in a row or 100 strikes in a row.
Missed single pin, even Parker.
Even the greats miss spares, and something unusual you don't see, but it happens. Yeah, but Richie never, you could not tell how Richie was bowling. I mean, if you look at him, you think, well, I guess he's not going to make the cut, but he's tournament leader.
Yeah, well, that's
kind of like John.
It's so funny because we're all different as human beings, so naturally you react everything differently to everything, good and bad. Some people handle adversity extraordinarily well. Others don't. It's just we're all different. And things are looking good for Brad Angelo here as we approach the halfway point of this match.
That right lane, I mean, just from my perspective here, looks a little tighter because the balls just aren't coming off the pattern quite as sharp as they are on the left lane. And that was the characteristic of a lot of the lanes rather, during the tournament. A lot of the right lanes were tighter. That could be a characteristic of the house, I assume, or maybe the new install.
Yeah, the surface is only 3 years old. Oh. Is there an 8-pin back there? Can anybody tell?
There is not.
Okay, so it's baby split for Brad. There's Parker taking the spare ball out for a walk, trying to do a little work on it.
Parker has been known to leave spare balls in trash cans if they quit making spares for him.
Okay.
And he'll drill another one.
So, in other words, you're suggesting the audience gets a free Parker Bohn in the third ball if things don't work out?
There could be if he misses another spare with this ball. Not the easiest spare in the world to make, but Brad made it look simple. They got to go down.
Well, if there's a comeback, it has to start now. You throw it like that, you can leave your spare ball in the trash can.
That's true. And if you throw it like that, you can end up with 246 this game also, which would definitely help out his situation.
Well, it may be necessary just to keep it alive after the 2 open frames.
Well, Brad can go out for 258, so Parker needs to put some X's on the board. I'm not so sure he liked that, you know.
I didn't see the left arm go up. I saw a concerned bend at the back.
It was like, I think it could be okay, but I'm not quite sure.
It was the little strike that could.
And please strike. Brad with that little hesitation, little bump right there.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be more profound. We talk about it every time I see him on the show.
Oh, no.
Oh, my Lord.
That's ridiculous. That's
Solid
obscene.
8. Oh.
We may get fined by the FCC for that kind of obscenity.
That was.
Wow. Watch what happens to the ball here.
It
just races by.
Yeah, it wanted to go left, but it stopped. That is, in this kind of a situation, one of the worst breaks you can possibly get. I don't think you can throw it any better than that.
All right. But he is still clean through 6.
257, 30, 60, 90, 120 plus 257.
So still an advantage for Angelo in the max score.
$246 for Parker.
And then a quitter 10.
Brad kind of leaned in my way, but he was definitely 12 at the arrows. I don't know if he got it quite as far right. Now, you would think in 37 feet, you got 23 feet of dry lane, supposedly, that ball would just come peeling sideways off the back. Now, during qualifying, I'm sure you've seen it, Andres Gomez made his ball look like he was going sideways.
He did, I know.
Oh, my
There's
Lord.
some circles on that thing.
I mean, even on this pattern, most of the guys were playing out. And Andres, I think, started at 4th arrow and just banking the whole lane.
Do we have the possibility of a tie here now? I'm going through.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, 246.
We do.
No, it's going to take some work.
That was a little early.
Yeah. I know. It is early. All right, so Brad Angelo.
He was pulling the cord on that one. He thought he had it.
Can you blame him?
No, I don't.
That's not one bit. So that changes the max score. Here comes the spare ball that could be on its last roll.
If he misses another 7-pin, that thing will definitely never make the trip.
Will not be going back to New Jersey.
That definitely 30, 60, that one.
There are a lot of lakes in the Orlando area where that ball could have wound up.
215 max score.
There you go. 7-pin got attacked that time.
Something I just noticed on Parker's footwork in one of his previous matches that he won on the high end. I'm not sure if he bowled, but anyway, he was standing a good foot in front of the dots throwing the urethane because he said he had to slow it down to get the ball to face up the right way. So he shortened his approach, slowed the ball down to make sure that ball made the corner. Now he's standing probably a good foot farther back and a little more speed.
Got a mix, got a mix.
Light mixer.
Yes, sir. Angelo retains the advantage. The best Parker can do is 2 1/4. Take a look at Brad.
246.
Still has that max score, and he has requested a re-rack.
And it's always on the left lane.
Yeah, that's Peralta did it. I think Jason did it.
And from my advantage point, it looks like the 3 is tucked a little left to the head pin. And sometimes a re-rack is just to slow down the pace.
Right. These guys, I'm amazed that I think sometimes they do notice things that the
don't.
average person is not going to be able to pick up, and other times it's literally a timeout.
Yeah, exactly. That was a little farther right. Oh, my Lord.
Wiggled it.
That ball was a truck. I thought that was for sure.
Sounded like a truck. That one landed with a thud.
Max score now 226 for Brad.
Oh, let's make it close, shall we?
Yeah, because Parker can shoot 225.
Parker can make him do a lot of work if he strikes out. First things first, he takes care of it. In the distance, you can hear Tom Adcock practicing.
Well, this is kind of a must situation. Parker strikes out for 225. Brad has to strike out for 226.
Well, I think it would be fun for all of us if Parker can force that scenario.
It's definitely going to be fun to watch.
If it happens. We have not quite seen the lather, rinse, repeat Parker that got him into this number 3 seed, where he was just trucking pins a lot of this tournament.
One time.
Kind of like that.
Yeah, there was that left hand. He pulled the cord.
And he was starting to walk, too, so. Tom, I've talked about it a lot. You know the mechanics way better than I do. What is it about Parker's repeatability? How is he able to just be so steady and so consistent?
Well, that's $1 million question.
No, and literally in his case.
Yes, it is. Some people, honestly, I believe, have that gift. I mean, Parker was a phenomenal bowler when he was just a kid, and his timing has never changed. He's just.
That's what it. Yeah.
It's just some people have pure timing, and he is one of them. And his game's simple. He's one of the few players that still use a 4-step approach.
Okay.
Most of the pros you see today are 5, 6, 7.
Well, the two-handers practically run up many of them.
There's just so many variables. He is simplistic. He uses a 4-step approach, and some of us think a 4-step approach is probably the hardest approach, believe it or not, to get right, because feet and arm have to basically start at the same time unless you're a very delayed bowler, and then you end up stepping before you walk. But it's a tough approach. That's why a lot of people use more steps, because it's just a rhythm thing. But Parker's always had fantastic rhythm. One time.
No, and no again.
And just as I say, I feel like a black cat now.
No, that's okay. He might have yanked that just a touch, but
if there was a replay, it looked like his feet got fast and he got his body ahead of himself. He looked at the approach and it just got out of whack.
202.
So here's the scenario. Brad's just got a mark. 9
And,
spare 9 is 215.
And Brad will be in the final for the second straight week. $212, I'm sorry.
For the marbles. There it is.
He's got marbles.
Brad Angelo on to his second attempt at a title 2 weeks in a row.
Just needs 7.
Kind of ironic. Brad Angelo last game shot 212 to advance, and Parker shoots 212 this game to lose.
Single pin miss again.
That 7 pin.
Factor.
There's 11 pins.
This is just crazy what's going on in this tournament. My math tells me 9 is greater than 7.
Yep. He don't miss that spare. Parker shoots 223, which forces Brad to have to double the 10th, but that didn't happen.
Little Brad going to shoot at this, you think? I didn't even look to see if he changed the ball. Nope, that's a spare ball.
That's spare. He got it. 216 to 212.
All right, it's going to be Brad Angelo versus Tom Adcock. All right, let's get this going. Oh, re-rack.
We just had a Dino moment there.
Nope, no re-rack. I thought there was.
Tom kissed his wife. There's a Dino moment.
Oh, well, she's got the Team Adcock jacket on also, so you can always tell we're. And that's a perfect start. Beautifully shaped
Pin back.
shot. Yep. Beautifully shaped shot. Oh, my. I was about to say matched by Adcock, but that didn't happen.
That was pure. So here's a scenario, and then it might take a few shots, but I don't think you got a few shots to waste.
Right.
More surface on the ball makes it slow down. We make it slow down too much, might not go through the pins. There's one thing to hit the pocket, but there's another thing to make it go through the pins the right way. And he's playing the same zone that Brad is. Right around that 12-13.
Okay.
Right out to 5. And I got an interesting little text. One of Brad Angelo's friends just texted me that Brad also has been dealing with a hip issue.
Really? It sure doesn't look like it.
No, it doesn't.
I haven't noticed anything, limping or anything, or any kind of wincing or anything, but let's hope it's not some lingering thing that's going to plague him during the year, because he's off to one heck of a start.
2 tournaments, 2 shows.
2 finals.
Yeah, finals.
And is this going to be the one where he gets back into the winner's circle for the first time since 2022? championship match, the 2025 PBA50, the Villages Classic. Brad Angelo versus Tom Adcock. Angelo with a slight edge early.
Oh,
Nope.
four pin. And if you're wondering why we're quiet here for a reason, we are sitting really right behind the bowlers, and we don't want to obviously interrupt their concentration. So there might be a point of where you might not hear.
Yeah, I mean, I took your pencil. I could easily hit Tom Adcock in the back of the head. That's how close they are with these guys. Not that I would do it. I'm just trying to show you or explain to you the proximity of us to the bowlers. And I'll add to that here after the spare.
Dead flush.
When you're doing the network shows, depending on the location, of course, like Allen Park, we're way up. We're a long way away from the players. Sometimes we're not that far away from the players, but they build a closed-in booth so we can be a little bit louder, and you're behind the approach as we are here. Obviously, we don't have that. We sort of fit ourselves to what is here, rather than make it fit what you want to do when you're Fox or in the future CW. So we have to kind of really do use the inside voices here. We are very close to these guys.
Oh,
yes.
A little love on that 10 pin.
Wow. Alrighty then. Let's count the good breaks he gets on this shot. 1, 2. Yep. And that's well, he went from an absolute screaming disaster to a double.
I keep waiting for Tom Adcock to have this Superman jersey on because we kind of kid and call him Clark Kent all the time.
I didn't see his Cubs jersey this week. Very surprising because you look at that banner.
Yeah, well, he's got his Cubs banner up there.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Gotta go.
He,
Wait, no, that's not going to make any difference.
you could see it in his wrist. He was wheeling, going, come back, ball. Got that too far right. Ten pin, no problem.
Yep.
He's playing them both the same. They're about that 12, 13, right out to 5.
Divide and conquer on those pins for Brad Angelo.
Brad definitely not overpowering the ball. He's like throwing it 15.06. You know,
I've
not
noticed
overly hard.
No, Tom's closer to 17 if you round up on his strike balls.
Well, he's a foot taller. He's got a longer arm swing.
He's a big boy. There's no doubt about it. He's a big boy. That's perfect.
That was pure flush right there. That's you can definitely tell that Brad is digging and grinding. He's get that monkey off his back.
Yeah, and the interesting thing will be, let's talk about it later. Let's get this match over with first before we start getting into speculation land. I definitely have a few ideas, but we have work to do. We don't have work to do. They have work to do.
Our job's actually pretty easy.
It's extremely easy. Right now it is.
He's got to hurry. Oh, my God. You talk about catching some breaks.
Well, he has had that happen a lot. Mike, Brian, and I have been watching obviously since day one, and Tom has had a boat full of these strikes.
That was like 15, and thank God for the head pin going to the side and just like crumbling everything else. But believe it or not, this pattern, there's oil in the middle. You just can't go jumping in there because even though it's 37 feet, there's enough oil in the middle that if you get the ball in there, you might not hit the head pin. And you've probably seen it during qualifying. A guy get a ball in and it just doesn't read. It doesn't get there.
It just sort of drifts.
That was left off of his hand. That was definitely 13-14 and never got right.
His first bad shot of this game, but the way Brad Angelo is bowling, that's going to be extremely costly.
This might just be the key to loosen up Brad's swing a little bit. Not that it's tight, but maybe free it up a little.
Yeah. I don't know if he's going to relax until the last ball is thrown and he knows he's going to win.
Well, Tommy can still shoot 237.
Right. That's the scary part.
I mean, that's not a bad number. That's what Mike predicted. What, with 237? What did he say?
He said 237.
Yeah. If he ends up on that number, he better go play the lotto.
Man, man.
Brad, 14.73. So Brad's letting the ball shape, what we call shape, on the lane a little bit more, slowing it down so that ball can read the back end of the lane because there was some urethane that went down there. And now we're getting another re-rack on the left lane again.
Mm-hmm. I don't think that's a take a break issue. I really do think that Brad and others have seen something there. Because it's been 3 or 4 bowlers now that have done this, and that's the second time Brad has done it. And it's only been on that lane. It has not been on the 18 at all.
And see, and if from my point of view right now, that rack doesn't look as good as the one that was there. But obviously they're bowling and I'm sitting here, so they see something different than I see.
Lucky man. It's going to stay up, but what might have been was a big 4.
Did I say I didn't like that rack?
Brad doesn't like it either now. If he had thrown a strike, he wouldn't have cared. But, boy, that was close to being a
ugly
game changer.
Huge game changer. Uh-oh. Ooh, that didn't look like that. Off his hand, it looked like he's missing that left.
I hate to keep harping on this, but guess who hasn't missed any single pins tonight?
Brad Angelo?
Correct. Well, Tom Adcock, how do you feel about striking out? Because that may be what you have to do.
237.
258, right, for Brad?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Uh-oh. He didn't like that at all.
No.
Not at all.
He got the trouble out of the way, but it's getting, and they're going to have to obviously fix the score. It's getting a little tougher for Tom and a little easier for Brad Angelo.
I hate to say this, but I think maybe the extra surface on that ball didn't help him out as much as I think they were hoping, because it looks like that ball's burning up way too soon.
Brad ball got hit too, right?
I didn't. I just
saw Mitch was playing. Mitch was doing something to it.
Yeah, I just. It looks like it's burning to me.
Yeah.
Burning meaning it's losing energy or losing motion too soon. however you want to look at it.
Again, that score is right in the bowling center. Now it's been caught up to by Lane Talk. So, 227? No, wait, 37, 67. Yeah, 227 if he gets hot here, but Angelo's sitting in a much better position right now. That's been more of the typical Adcock strike, where he's been able to generate a lot of carry. But I think the look on his face.
That was literally a must-strike situation anyway. If he
doesn't,
it's going to be over with.
So earlier tonight you had the BowlTV Finals debut of Francisco Peralta, who defeated Jason Couch. Then Brad Angelo beat Peralta. Brad Angelo beat Parker Bohn III. Brad Angelo in control of this game and getting closer to grabbing the title.
Oh.
And we've talked about it, Tom, that it seems like in the matches, in these situations, there's a frame or two that bites Brad in the ankle. And he just got nipped there.
Well, he didn't throw it too slow. He threw it 14.97. He just threw the one before was 14.8. So roughly the same speed. He just had to get that in and never got it to the right. This is a makeable spare.
Do you just go for the 2 here?
You definitely go for the 2.
In other words, I'm saying don't try to just get crazy here. Just pick up your 2 and move on.
Yeah. Get your 2. If you happen to get 3, great. And he's going for it, which I hate losing count.
That's what I was thinking.
How many games have been lost by 1 pin?
All right, let's redo the math. Now it's 233.
Right, to 227.
So, assuming Brad strikes here in the 9th, if Tom goes off the sheet, Brad will be stepping up in the 10th, having to do some serious work.
Having to do what he did last game
well, he
to get
did
to this point.
And he's obviously more than capable of doing it. Let's see what he does here to bounce back.
Looks good off his hand.
Yeah, that's a great bounce back. I know he's unhappy about the previous frame because if he had struck both times, this thing would be just about over.
57.
So, but now it's up to Tom Adcock. He's got to carry the water.
Yeah, Tom's in a must-strike situation. If he doesn't strike here, Brad just needs to 9 spare all the way out, and he's fine.
Tom really needs them all to put some pressure on Brad.
Yeah, because if Tom doesn't, let's say he goes 9, it's 57, 77, 207, the best he can do.
And Brad would just have to mark. That might be his best shot of the game.
I believe it. I concur.
Yeah. Well, good. That makes me feel better. It does. So there's the first, but he needs 3 more. Let's be honest. He's got to get to that 227 mark.
Yes. To force Brad to double.
Yeah. But those of you who picked under for the winning score, congrats, because you got it.
Better shot. Oh.
No, sir.
Solid 9. What a horrible break.
It's a good-looking ball.
That ball off his hand looked unbelievable.
Wow.
06. Brad's got a mark.
Still has to mark.
Brad's got a mark. He can't do what he just did.
And he has to go back to the lane that he
just
did
split
that on.
Yep. here's the situation. Don't get slow and don't get too firm.
And don't go too fast either.
Well, the only thing Tommy can do here is put 10 back and make him work for it. He's got to make him work.
Yeah.
Oh, of course, that was, you know.
Yep, 206.
Bill shots always strike.
All right, a mark for Brad Angelo, and he will be a winner.
You know there are about a million things going through his mind right now.
Yeah, and it's so easy for us to sit here and go, oh, just shut that off, Brad, and throw a good shot. But we all know better than that.
One time.
There you go, Brad.
There it is.
You're a winner.
Brad
You're a
Angelo.
winner.
Finally. He has been in this spot so many times.
I swear it seems like 1,000 step ladders.
Yeah.
And he is going to be on top of this one for the first time in 3 years. What I was going to say, what I didn't want to say before this is over, is I wonder if now we're going to see many more. A small flood of victories now that he can shake this off.
Yeah,
and he's a champion again. Because he is a champion again. Brad Angelo, your winner on the PBA50
it's the only
Tour.
time you ever see this guy smile.
When bowling.
When bowling.
When bowling.
Yeah, you'll never see that very often.
And we will be talking to Brad when this match is over.
Well, congratulations, Brad Angelo. I know he probably feels like there's a ton of bricks off his chest. Yeah.
2025 PBA50 Classic.
There you go. And it's and Tom's wife also right there.
Congratulations to our
So that's just great for Brad. I think a lot of people are going to be happy for him.
bowling this week. Round of applause for Mr. Tom Adcock.
Dan Knowlton right there.
Yep.
If I can get Miss